there's an Aleph that precedes the Torah and precedes the letter Bet of Bereshis. This Aleph is represented in the Ten Commandments as Anoki, and was probably the only letter heard, and is the only letter needed to be heard, and the only letter that God had to say. Everything is included in this Aleph. This Aleph represents within it the law of three with two Yuds and a Vav. The two Yuds are the concept of the duality of the two, and the Vav in the middle comes and solidifies that duality into a unity. And that's what the law of three actually does. It takes the two opposites and brings them together. This is the secret of the Aleph, which is represented as that law of three because the Bet represents two. Obviously two in the letter Bet itself being the number two. And one always wonders why the Quran starts with a Ba, and the Torah starts with a Bet, and the whole idea of why would it start with a two? It starts with a two because there's a Aleph that precedes it. There's a one that precedes it that is a threeness. The one includes three, the law of three, and that one is actually a positive. It's a thing that precedes everything. You know, it's the thing that fills the gap. So there's one that's unstated, which is the answer for the two of the Bet. And that is the law of three right there. And it represents Aleph Bet, and that's Av, and that's father. This father then is represented as later on as Avraham, and the son becomes Yitzhak. But in this word, Bet, in this letter Bet, then there's a dagesh in the Bet with that little dot in the Bet, and they bring that down as that's the underlying secret of the Aleph from previous. It's the or in the previous, and it comes down into a dagesh there as the botzina dekar tanuta, as the dot, the speck, like a yud. But even within this yud, there's three. There's the touch of the yud, the mark of the yud, and the removal. That's how you write a yud. So the three in the one. 3 in 1 oil. And so the point is, in every one there's a 3. In every 3 there's a 1. And this is what the law of 3 is. And then we get into the word Bereshis, created 6. Bara, created Shis, 6 in Aramaic. And that is the law of 7. Because in the law of 7, there's 6 creations. You say, Bara Shis. And what created this 6th? This is the letter Aleph. Aleph created the Bet of 2, and it created the Shis of 6. And that 6 is represented by a 7th. You see? And that 7th is Shabbos. And so the uncreated is Shabbos, because Shabbos represents that 3-ness of the previous of the Aleph, previous creation, before creation. And the Aleph represents before creation, and the Bet represents creation. So the Aleph, being 3, is the answer also to Bereshit. Those are the 6 days of the week. And then the Shabbos comes. And that's not created. That comes from the Aleph. You see? And strangely enough, the Shabbos has 3 meals. See? And so anytime you see a 3, that comes from the law of 3. That law of 3 is represented by the head. The law of 7 is represented by the body. The head is above the body. And the gap is the neck. That's da'as, so to speak. And that's the gap between the 3 and the 7. In a certain sense, this da'as is one of the great keys. Remember, we had that trouble with the tree of da'as. You see? So all these stories go together. There's 2 laws, law of 3 and the law of 7. See? And then how does the number 8 come in? 8 comes in as the essence of the uncreated, of the 7th. There's something special, more special than everything about the 8. That 8 is like what they call the Maleve Malkus, I think, the Messiah's meal, the 4th meal of Shabbos. And that's the 4th prong of the shin on the tefillin. When we add the 3 and the 1, we show that there's a level that 4, that dalet, which is the dalet in the back of the head. And when you put 2 dalets together, you get 8. And that law of 8 is represented in the dalet, in the double dalet. And when you have that double dalet, that's the infinite. So the 1 represents the spiritual, so to speak. Into the all is 1, and then the 7th, the Shabbos is again represents the spiritual. But the 8 represents the infinite, and that's Ein Sof, and that's the Atzmut's level of the spiritual, so to speak. Although there's a level of Atzmut's Ein Sof. And that's represented by the 8, and that's the double dalet. And there are 7 shins, there's 7 prongs on the tefillins of the head, 3 and a 4. And, I had this dream the other day of my father as a demon. And that's shin and dalet, shed. And this is for me, this is the great secret here. And what I'm going to be representing now, these 2 laws of 3 and 7, which are brought down in the Gurdjieff 4th way. It's brought down in everything, in the Enneagram. It's brought down in Judaism. Great mystery of the tree of life. It's the 11th point, what I call the 0 point, the das point, between the neck. There are only 10 sephirots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But there's also a 0. And that 0 is das. And that's the great, great mystery of the neck. And the relationship between the head, the neck, and the body. For energetics and other things like that. So everything comes out of the Aleph that precedes creation. see. And then the bet is what's created these dualities. The Aleph before it turns it into a threeness, because the word Av is the Kedusha is the Aleph, and the Din is the bet. But the total is 3. That's the law of 3. But inherent within the Aleph itself is the 3 with 2 Yuds and a Vav. And that is the Yud Ke Vav Ke name because it's 26. And the Aleph itself can represent Elohim. And so there's a lot here, you see. And there's a lot when you bring these things into numbers, and what I'm doing now is to show that like in the beginning, in the creation, these are events. What Badu calls evental. Memorable events that permeate the rest and change the nature of the societal. You see. And deep enough there for today.